My people, I salute all of una according to the time una dey use. I bring this ogbonge video. Una watch, una come listen to wisdom of this Burkina Faso president. Una come listen to his wisdom and the good plan he have for his citizens. Una know say he took over power now, not even long ago. Burkina Faso is called Abraham Traore. He sees power where he say ECOWAS. They dribble them. Where he say ECOWAS is a scam for his liking. Now he sees power. Infiltrate military coup in 2022, becoming the youngest leader in the world. As you just see and so. This Captain Ibrahim assumed office as Burkina Faso president after removal of that Paul. We be say that one say na him be democracy, na democracy in the regime, democracy government na they do every all Burkina Faso the economic they reduce. Because they reduce their economic, they reduce their value, they reduce everything. When this one see him, he can't say no. He must add value to his generation. He must add relevance to his generation. He must represent his nation, his society. Now he remove that Paul through military coup. In September 2022, my people, he removed him back on. My people, since then, this Abraham, he don't already get rank. He don't mark the best rank among African leaders. Today, if you go to the economic of Burkina Faso, it don't make sense through this man. And the good thing where I just love waiting among every wisdom where they pass out. He say he don't already empower, he don't prepare his citizens. May them be able to, in order for them to protect themselves. That is kudos to him. You know, all this one what they are saying, don't be deceived by people, my Nigerians. I beg, don't be deceived. All those what they are saying, military regime is so cruel. The military regime is so bloody. Military regime they don't have value. Military regime compared to the democracy, this democracy where they claim say that they do for Nigeria. Compare this Burkina Faso and this military regime. Go compare to Nigeria way of leadership. You know, say now this one, now I know the value of human, of his citizens. And he know the value of the economy, know the value of his citizens. They build that value, they add value, more value to his economy. They increase the economic, they boast like normal business. If they add more value to his citizens, he regard I beg. Our African ancestors is awakening in this man, this Abraham. Now be the world youngest head of state. The world youngest, not be by old white beer, not be by old age. They tell they get sense. Not be by old age, they tell they make sense. They tell they give relevance, build economic, lead well. Not be by age at all. The youngest head of state since that September 2022, the life of Burkina Faso, the Burkina Faso's citizens, their life never remained the same again. You listen to his words of wisdom, his words of knowledge, words of understanding, his level of if you listen to his competency, military regime go dey hungry you for Nigeria. But our Nigeria militant, our Nigeria military, I beg, Mona they listen to this man, this Ibrahim. Mona they listen to how he could be able to achieve all of that. Mona they learn. And so I talk how I know when I give them all expo, made them not say that me say Mona take over power. And I bet Mona had felt learn wisdom. Mona learn, because all this democracy they say that they do for Nigeria, how can you deny your citizen from? We have no reason to be denied of electricity. We have no reason to be denied of power supply, or can't you see things, or how they are rubbishing everybody, all the name of democracy, ECOWAS. They are using it to scam the nation, scam the citizens. Now, people, if you talk as a citizen, after all their incompetency and all of that, I can imagine the high level of insecurity. If you talk, they will come after you. How long are we going to continue in that? Enough is enough. Nigerians, wake up. Our Nigeria army, I know our African ancestors, our African ancestors can never just fold their hands. They will enter anywhere they could enter in order for them to bring things back to normal. Now, so I talk and reach my people. I bet when they share my video, as they bring updates for we to get things right in that nation. I bet when they share my video. My country people, I bet when still share this video, Mona share, Mona subscribe. Mona share, Mona share, and may God bless you. I may I live on Mona listen to the rest segments.
Are you still willing to negotiate? Is that an option? Is it possible that tomorrow you will say to yourself, well, okay, we understand who will come back?
It's a part of no return. Everything we do when we decide, it is chains that we are breaking. It is forever.
So never again ECOWAS.
No, it's finished.
For media interview which today receives a special guest. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the President of the Transition, Head of State of Burkina Faso. Good morning, Mr. President.
Hello, Alan.
Thank you for receiving us. Obviously, today, January 30th, 2024, we want to ask a question since this is the news. 3 states, Mr. President. What happened? Why decide to leave ECOWAS?
Thanks. As you say, this is a topical issue. It happened last Sunday. This withdrawal decision, therefore, of these 3 countries grouped within AES, it's not cheerful than turning your back on an organization. But it is at the end of a deep analysis, and I think this organization was born in 75. If I'm not mistaken, it's 1975 indeed. With heads of state, mostly from the military. In any case, as far as the AES is concerned, they were all military.
Absolutely.
I think it was a desire to integrate people, to make the development of the economy, solidarity, mutual aid. Overall, the Pan-Africanist virtues which led the heads of state to therefore create this organization. Unfortunately, over time, the organization has lost its values. And today, the observation is clear. I think that for over a decade, the sister republics of Mali and Niger are at war against terrorism. And in Burkina, almost a decade, we are at war. This organization, which was supposed therefore to create mutual aid and solidarity, we have never received any help from this organization. No soldiers, no logistics, no compassion.
But Mr. President, we want to say that we understand that recently, relationships were particularly difficult. With what happened, the coups that took place in these different states, that you have just mentioned, Mali, Niger and Burkina. You want to leave and people say to themselves, isn't this a reaction to the fact that they do not accept that you have allowed a coup d'etat? When you leave and you say, okay, since they do not accept, we leave.
Coup d'etat. We don't do it because we want it. It is this way of seeing things that we must change. You agree with me that having these states in crisis, to carry out a coup d'etat and assume one's responsibilities, it is very heavy. But if we do it, it's because we have a desire. To take our people, therefore, towards a certain sovereignty, because we know the origin of this crisis. And I think we should be accompanied. The cities have so many millions of displaced people in these regions. What are you doing to help them? Nothing.
Do you have the feeling that it's the military who are more likely to resolve these problems than politicians, civilians? Is that your feeling?
Anyone could do it.
But how can we explain that these are the soldiers who take control and say we no longer want civilians?
No, the military did not say that we no longer want civilians. It is out of a duty of patriotism when the nation is in danger. At some point, important decisions had to be made. If it turns out that it is the soldiers who had the courage to make this decision, well, that's what is there. Anyway, civilians or soldiers, we are all the children of this country, and whoever is therefore animated by this feeling of being able to liberate his country, one can do it. So, it's not a question of the military. Elsewhere, the military has succeeded. Here too, the military can succeed well.
So, Mr. President, what do you say to ECOWAS officials who say they are leaving because we said that we don't want putschists among us?
There are many putschists among them. So, it's not a question of putschists, it's just a mask.
When you say putschists, civilian putschists.
There are military putschists within ECOWAS, who today claim to be civilian democrats. There are worse things than putschists. There are some who kill, who gag their people in silence. ECOWAS closes its eyes and ears. There are more putschists within ECOWAS.
So, Mr. President, we say, okay, we are leaving ECOWAS with immediate effect to Burkina Faso, Niger and Mali. We leave with immediate effect. Mr. President, this concerns a lot of people. What do we do with the free movement of people, of your populations who are in these countries of ECOWAS that you are leaving overnight? How exactly is it going to happen? Because the text say, it takes at least a year to be able to implement all of them. Now you're saying no, it's over now.
Yes. First of all, you say the text says, but they themselves have never respected their text. It's done at the customer's discretion. This is what we noticed. The sanctions imposed on Niger do not exist anywhere in the text. So, the first to violate this exclusion is the so-called Democrats. We are leaving, but we remain Pan-African. Anyone in Africa, an African who wants to come to Burkina, he is welcome at home.
But on the contrary, it will be complicated. Someone who is within the AES, we are going to talk about the AES in a moment. Someone who is within the AES, we can tell him he that can no longer go to Ivory Coast, he can no longer go to Ghana. It becomes a little more complicated for those who do their business there.
We will see and decide what measures to take in due course.
That's flexing it well. This departure from ECOWAS is well thought out, Mr. President.
Of course, very well thought out.
It's not a crash, it's not a burst of anger.
If it was an outburst, we would have done it a long time ago. I think we had time to analyze the situation, to weigh many things and finally decide. So, if it was a crush, from the first moment of certain sanctions, the people have been quite resilient, it must be said. They suffered. So, during this time, we could decide in anger. Now, we have taken the time to observe, to analyze the situation and to convince ourselves of our strengths before deciding.
And you took everyone by surprise. Another element in this, we are going to say this. This new way of drawing West Africa, with the alliance of Sahel states. Mr. President, is this viable? On paper, it's very attractive, but is it viable?
You know very well that it is more than viable. You know, for a long time, they held our people in a certain philosophy, always tending to make us believe that we can do nothing without others. Today, our mission is to raise awareness. You do it very well indeed.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate it. We need to be able to raise awareness so that young people realize what is in their home. For such an organization, you must first realize its strengths and its weaknesses. And at the end of this analysis, you decide. The AS is very viable. What it
when
does.
we look at the economy, Mr. President, if I may, these are economies that are very integrated. You produce the same thing, you do the exact same thing. Who will sell to whom? How will it trade? And what are we doing? Because these are not countries that have at least one opening to the sea.
Numbers are one thing, the economy too. You know, we are here a very short time ago. But the economy was pulled a little torn by past regimes. Otherwise, we should have very strong economies today. That is what I am saying. By analyzing our strengths, we realize that we should not have been at this stage. We must have been much further away. When you take the AES, in terms of population, in terms of surface area, we are very good in terms of production. Normally, the states on the list should not carry anything with regard to agricultural products, food. Today we are aware of this and we are doing everything so that we don't import anything when it comes to what we consume. In terms of wealth, whether it is natural. When I say natural wealth, there are underground riches, but there is also on the surface. We shout everywhere that Africans are dying of hunger and thirst and so on. Projects invented here and there, for example, providing drinking water. There is a large reserve of underground water in the AES. And even on the surface, in terms of mineral resources, we have nothing to envy of anyone. And in nature, when you take products like, I like to say, shea is a natural wealth. We didn't plant it. It is God who gave it, but it is very rich. People take and transform it. It's there. We are aware of our potential. The AES has nothing to envy of anyone.
For you, AES may be enough, be an integrated whole that functions normally perfectly. Mr. President, when we look at the approach that has just been undertaken by these three states very concretely, in Europe, we listen almost everywhere. The fact that there is a need for them to be working with others on a subject that is the most important today, security. I want to ask Mr. President, today you have been here for some time already. It's been over a year. What is your record in the field of security? Before we talk about these three states in terms of security. In your case, in Burkina Faso, a large part of the territory is still in the hands of terrorists. What have you been able to do since you have been here in this area?
All right. This is the priority for us. When you said this, terrorists, they are killing, burning, displacing populations, grabbing land. But I can tell you right now, as I said recently, there are no portions of our territory where we want to go to and which we cannot go to.
Today, you can go all over the country.
Everywhere. Territories that were under control for 3 or 4 years. We have been setting up there.
And yet, we are talking about more attacks than in the past when foreign armies were on the territory.
Are you sure? More attacks. It's relative. Today we are on the offensive for most zones. We are no longer in a defensive posture. We go towards the enemy, we seek the enemy. When we decided to take our destiny into our own hands, as we like to say, it's a pretty important and very courageous decision. And when you decide like that, all the sleeper cells wake up suddenly. And that's when you realize the magnitude of the terrorism situation. We realize this well. But to wage war, first there is patriotism. There are logistics. There is now situational intelligence. Patriotism has awakened in all Burkinabe people. Whether it is the combatants, whether it is the civilian population, you see clearly, contribute. This wouldn't have been possible a few years ago.
Why?
We must know how to awaken patriotism in every person. Give them confidence, knowing that their homeland is the only thing they have left. We managed to do that. That's why, when asked to contribute, they do. People have been asked to arm themselves to fight wherever they are. Even today, if we decide that we want 1 million Burkinabes to fight, we will have them.
The volunteers.
For defense.
Of the defense of the homeland, yes.
People are ready, they are committed.
It's not dangerous for them.
No, this is their homeland.
This is their homeland.
All over the world, people have fought for their homeland.
Mr. President, when we say that, in that we want to ask ourselves the question of knowing. This terrorism has been going on for a while now in our territories, with armies that came and extraordinary sums spent on the quality military arsenal so far. How do you explain that suddenly? You decided that the three of you are going to fight this without the others. Is this realistic? What makes this more possible today than with those armies that were there?
It's more than realistic. there were several situations. We had the chance to do the fieldwork. Many other officers that you can meet had the chance to field and maneuver with these foreign armies. On your own territory, they put restrictions on you, they do what they want. Which is even more surprising. Imagine, you said, with all the technology they had. Currently, there are satellites that observe everything. They had drones, helicopters, all types of devices. But we never saw the terrorists. Today we have decided to go to war. But you realize, we find them every day and we whip them. So, there was a problem for us.
There was no real desire to fight them.
No desire to fight it. If they wanted to, they could have done it. The terrorists would never have reached these levels.
So today, they say that if they achieve results, if they achieve any results, it is because they have the Russians with them. There was Wagner who we talked about today. Today, we even have the Russians who are going to open their first military base with Africa Corps. Mr. President, are the Russians helping you? And is their help better than that of the foreign armies which were present until then?
You know, with regard to Burkina, for example, we have always been in a relationship with Russia. And I tell you, the equipment that the Burkinabes had, 80% of it was Russian equipment.
Really?
Of course.
But yet, you had a stronger relationship militarily with the French. How do you explain?
Yes. Because this equipment dates back years, perhaps from the revolution. Of course, we have equipment that dates from the years of the revolution, which are still fighting. Russian and Korean equipment. North Koreans, still fighting in our army.
Are they more efficient?
During all this time, the army was neglected. Don't forget that since the 90s, with the so-called structural adjustment program, everything had been distorted. Even there were soldiers who stood guard with sticks. We disarmed our armies. It was well prepared. More equipment, more training. Yes, people just wore the outfit. And terrorism joins the dance a few years later. And they sang on all media. They are incapable of fighting. We will come to help them, and terrorism is only gaining ground. Today, with Russia, the relationship is to be strategic. And I think you understand that much better than me. And with Russia, there is no equipment that we want to buy from them that they do not sell. Others make restrictions on us.
And they say you can't buy this type of weapon.
Of course.
But the Russians will sell you whatever you want.
Whatever we want. Right now, as I speak to you, we are being denied licenses of certain planes. There are some types of weapons that they will never sell us.
And how do we explain these restrictions to you?
It makes you wonder, where is the friendship? What do they want? There are many countries, Russians, Chinese, Turks, and the Koreans, and so on. There are no restrictions on us with Iran. Whatever we want, they will take stock of it. If we can pay, we pay. But with these states that were supposedly our friends, there are restrictions. There are even some who have managed to tell us that they can do nothing that is lethal. Yes.
So, if you're waging war, you can kill the one in front of you?
Oh yes, the terrorists are killing us. But we may have a duty to pick up stones. Maybe even the stone is lethal. Anything lethal they don't sell to us, that's their principle.
So today, with Russia, what do they get in return? We know well that there is no friendship between states. It's always interest. Everyone comes for their own interests. So, today there is the fear of a certain number of people to see that one master has been changed for another. Now, I know you a little bit to know that you are not in the replacement of one master by another. What are you giving the Russians in concrete terms so that they are there? Do they take minerals? How do you pay for them? Are you selling a portion of the territory? What's the deal?
If that was the deal, to truly leave one master for another, we prefer to die. Because, when we say homeland or death, it makes perfect sense. No, it's just media lies and more. And unfortunately, we had even seen heads of state who fell into it and went to tell a lie, supposedly like, give mines to Russians in our southern part. Very wrong.
There is nothing given to the Russians.
All wrong, not even a mine. Why give? If the Russians want a mine, we have the mining code. They come to integrate into it. We give them their license, they pay taxes, and they do everything they have to do like everyone else.
But with what do you pay the Russians then? They don't come for your beautiful eyes?
Oh yes, with the countries first. When did the Russians arrive in Burkina? This is the last time that instructors came because they must come and educate the population, the military on the equipment. And it is with all the countries. Besides, it's not just the Russians. When you sign a contract to acquire equipment, we sign the contract with the training. There are lots of Turks here. Why don't they talk about it?
Who specialize in drones?
We paid for drones with Turkey, with an assistance contract. There is no more in every corner that we are there. They are the Turks who are there. Why don't we talk about it? They are there, they support us, they train our crews in Turkey. They come here, they assist them and they continue to train them in piloting, maintenance and everything. We have the contract for a given time. When our men are well trained, they are going to leave. The Chinese are there. The equipment we pay for in China, they are also here to train in the handling of this equipment. That's the reality.
They are on the ground or not?
The Russians on the ground to fight? No, there are no Russians on the ground to fight. These are things actually developed in people's heads. But, if necessary, they will come to the field to fight. That, I can assure you, if necessary.
You wouldn't forbid it?
No, except that for the moment, they are not on the ground. For the moment, we are fighting alone. They support us in terms of training, logistics, tactical training and everything. They support us in this aspect.
So, I asked the question before, let there be no digression on your security record today, because we saw some movement of certain populations who are getting a little impatient, and then like you said, the people are very resilient, but at some point enough is enough. So, what did you do so that the Burkinabe can say President Traoré has arrived, he resolved this or that problem for us internally?
We don't talk about that. And I even said to certain ministers of communication, I don't want us to talk too much about our recovery. Let the villagers speak for themselves. There are several villages that have been resettled, schools that have opened in several areas. But often saying that there is no progress means there is no progress. It brings the villagers back and even makes videos to tell people it's false. You're lying. We left so many years ago, but we just came back. We are safe. Recently there have been some reports to really confirm that people have taken over the place.
Are there any displaced people who have returned home?
Who are now selling in their businesses today, marketing garden products on the market. That means they returned several months ago. They had time to cultivate. They made several savings.
Is it because you went on the offensive or because they had the VDP there?
The offensive is with the VDP. Of course. You know, I spoke to you right away about patriotism and logistics. It is the second part which defended us. Listen, when you take for example, the Djibo attack last November.
Absolutely.
As soon as there was the attack, there was the response element in Djibo and air vectors. The day after, the rapid intervention battalions moved towards Djibo with the supplies and continued and marched on the Berebu base. The Berebu base where we have never been since 2019. This is the part from where they prepare all the attacks, whether it is Berebu, Burom up to the border of Potegali. They marched on terrorist bases. If there were no logistics, it's impossible. We were going to sit down, plan the operation. We would have taken a month, more than a month, seeking to bring together logistics and men. That's how it happened. And to bring together the logistics, I will tell you a secret. There have been times during certain operations here, from neighboring countries, come and do the operation, clean and put them back. But today, all of this gives us a very bad image of ourselves. Today, as soon as there is an attack, we use the rapid intervention battalion. They move fast because they are fully equipped and ready to fight. We don't have a little time to lose and immediately they take off and rush into battle. This is how it happens. Now, there are several of them which are equipped, which are positioned all over the country, and this is also the rise in power in logistical and tactical terms.
Mr. President, when we see all this, with all the logistical help you speak of, with the Russians who are brought in to train, as you said, your troops, that's a lot of money. Can the Burkinabe economy last long with this?
Very good question. That's a lot of money. This is why I say that our countries are not poor. There is bad governance. There is theft, the plundering of our resources, that's it. That's what it's about. I will give an example. Today, there is the Patriotic Support Fund. The population contributes, and the vast majority maintains therefore the volunteers for the defense of the homeland. The rest is for the army, which we are in the process of equipping. All this means that we are in the process of acquiring. That's it. That's governance, finance. There are resources, we have potential. But if it's poorly managed, we're here for you.
Countries have enough to hold on to by simply producing and implementing good governance. How do we acquire the equipment?
It's not for our beautiful eyes, as you say, that we are given, we pay, but that's management. There are situations we actually manage to manage, because in all departments, all ministerial sectors, everyone is doing their best to rationalize, to reach the top. That is it. You know, there is this habit of corruption at the high level, overbilling. Because when someone holds elections, especially in Africa, here, it's like a business. We are going to finance them, that's the habit. Here, we distribute tickets so that we can vote on them. It's an investment, and as soon as it arrives, he is obliged to pay to repay, to repay. There's not that with us. We don't have an outside account. We have nothing, we don't want it. Everything is geared towards war. Indeed, if you take the field of oil, you know that the state subsidizes oil and oil products, the gasoline and diesel, so that the people of Burkina Faso pay less. In 2022, for example, subsidies were around 400 or 500 billion, which the state pays. 500 billion CFA francs.
In 2023, we will have less than 100 billion in subsidies.
That is to say, you saved 400 billion in subsidies.
How do you explain that? We were free to, when people make a proposal, to tell the company, Sonabi, such and such a person will make an offer at such and such a price. But you take at such a price, and the discounts, you give them to us. We go to open offshore accounts, and we put it in. That's how it happens.
And we hold you at that moment when you have opened external accounts.
But of course, if you're having fun, we say we are going to freeze your accounts. We don't have an account. Oh, everything is oriented towards the war. These savings are the equipment.
Mr. President,
Yes.
there was a long discussion about how long you are going to stay, or when are you organizing elections? How long will the transition last? Do you have an answer to that today? Do you think this is not a priority for you? How long will Captain Ibrahim Traoré be in business? And will organize elections to leave this seat?
I was going to ask you a question before answering you.
I'm not here to ask our questions.
It was a debate, and it's nice. If today, in 6 months, we decided to abandon the people, you, as a very objective member, and aware of our situation, what are you going to say? What would your comment be?
Honestly, I prefer to abstain, even if you know what I think.
Okay. This is to tell you that it is often tiring. It's tiring, but the only thing that keeps us going is the love of the people. We eat there, we drink there. Since we have been here, we have never taken a single day off. In any case, the entire executive, and you, imagine when you say that politicians say to themselves, for us, it's our job because there are some who have made it their job. We want to return to democracy, or we want to return to parliament, with people who are elected.
We want to make the people speak. What do you tell them? Are we going to stay like this, or that we are going to set up a new model which will perhaps allow us to get back on track?
Their profession. Did they learn this profession? They learned this profession. We do not want that people learn this profession from elsewhere and come and apply it here. We want to create a model. Because the way things are done here is not the right way. It's like I told you. First, there are a lot of agreements that you see, that we are denouncing, and many more are to come. Oh yes, the revolution on this aspect has not yet started. First of all, that's why I say our economies are going to do very well. People sign agreements for their own interest. Like I said, these are investments. Unfortunately, African heads of state, those who get into these kinds of political professions, have not always understood. I think the fact of yesteryear must give a lot of lessons, such as the Bokassa and others. They continue to plunder their country's resources and invest in them. How can we give? I do not know how I'll explain. It's inconceivable. But for you, Mr. President, in the A's,
There is no question of talking about the organization of elections for the end of transition.
yes, how are we going to organize the elections at moment's notice?
So, we have to put everything back.
In armament, apart from the system that is in place which must be reviewed, the elections concern all of Burkina Faso. Do you think they are ready today to go to Seoul, to go to Falegaon to do the campaigns? But it's the Burkinabe who will vote.
Firstly, because it is necessary.
Let there be a minimum of security so that if there is a campaign, people can go everywhere in Burkina and explain their ideas to the Burkinabe people. And the people will choose because there is no longer any question to go distribute money here and there. And there will be reforms to the electoral code. That's the end of it. If you are caught wrong, you will be disqualified. I don't want to get ahead of the iguana in the water, but this is to tell you that there are reforms to come. This way of doing things, of buying consciences, is over. Our mission is to raise awareness so that young people never accept that again. If you think you can govern the country, you explain your political program. What are you going to do? And maybe after a while, the people will evaluate you, whether you should continue your mandate or not. In short, we will not say everything, but there will be reforms on the electoral level, and so that people can vote. All Burkinabe must vote.
Mr. President, I return to the AES, which is something important to you since you are making it the battle horse in this war. What are the relations with the other heads of state of Niger and Mali? Can we consider an expansion of this AES, even to states that are not in the Sahel?
The possibility of expanding, and I'll start there. It's possible in the charter, it exists. So we made an opening. But the relationship between us, it's fraternal. This is what we dreamed of Africa. This is what is there now.
Do you share the same vision for Africa? Because sometimes people are jealous of their prerogatives in their country.
No, we share the same vision and we do the same mission. And if you look through the communications, everything we do is to raise awareness. Why would a head of state want his people to wake up? The others tend to make people fall asleep, so they can continue to do what they want. We want the people to wake up so that even after us, that people never again let individuals come and put them in these conditions. So, whether in Niger or Mali, here, if you want, in our communication, it is always to make people understand what happened before. And today, how we managed to break the chains of slavery. So that's it. We have to manage to ensure that everyone breaks the chains of slavery, and that is our communication. And that's very important. That's a vision. Secondly, regarding our self-determination, food self-sufficiency, there are many things that are being developed in our regions. For example, when we take our crops like wheat, moreover, that it was said that it cannot be done in our regions. We are doing it today on a large scale. In Mali, they are doing it on a large scale. Niger, they are underway. There are many other speculations that we are currently experimenting with. The message is to make our populations understand that we don't need to import. We can produce everything for us here and even export.
Produce and export within the AES. Are you not afraid for yourself today, Mr. President? Afraid? We lived through the period of Thomas Sankara, who is a bit like your model since many compare you to him through your ideas, through the way you behave, through your choices. We know how it ended.
Yes, you are right, and that is the question that everyone is asking. And this is the phobia of the Burkinabe people. In fact, when they think about it, they are always afraid for me, for my person. I am not afraid. We don't know fear. We have faced death many times. We rubbed shoulders with her. We don't know. God made us whether we are alive or not, and we give thanks to God. So we don't know fear. But we analyze the past on certain aspects. Maybe President Thomas Sankara made mistakes when he said, for example, letting friends betray friendship. It is not up to us to betray friendship. I think that sentence won out.
Do you think he should have been on the offensive?
We are not going to make the same mistakes again, that's for sure. And imperialism, as he said, is a very bad student. When he is chased away, he returns with the same methods we follow. So we won't let the same mistakes happen again today.
Today, Mr. President, what are your relations with France and with the European Union?
We don't have any special relationships, that's me, and I say, international relations are what they are. It's happening. As it should happen, if I may say so. There's nothing bad. In any case, Burkina is asserting its sovereignty. Any country or organization that respects this, we are in good relationship. But when you don't want to, that's when you want to dictate to us what we have to do.
But you still talk, right?
Of course, we talk to each other. The European Union, recently, we received a new ambassador. I know you followed, he's there, he's working, there's no problem. The French embassy is also still there. They continue their activities.
And the Americans?
They are there.
So, there is no problem on that side. Cooperation continues, but when we learn.
We are going to respect our ideological line. As long as we respect our sovereignty. As long as we respect the fact that we want to break our chains and be independent.
So that gives us the opportunity to end on that. We know that ECOWAS does not agree on the exit, saying it is good for us. We still learned. I know that the letter was addressed to them. Are you still willing to negotiate? Is that an option? Is it possible that tomorrow you will say to yourself, well, okay, we understand who will come back?
Either you come to your senses or it's over, let's finish and we'll never talk about it again. You must not make certain mistakes. I just told you. You mean our route? It's a path of no return. Everything we do when we decide, it is chains that we are breaking. It is forever.
So never again ECOWAS.
No, it's finished.
If we get into this, and this is my last question, if we get into it, that also means that in a while, you are going to attack the currency, which is the CFA.
Probably. Let things happen.
Is it, Mr. President? You know.
It's almost inevitable. Everything we do, that surprised you, didn't it? Things may still surprise you. It's not just the currency. Everything that is linked, which keeps us in slavery. We will break these bonds.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
I appreciate you. Please.
This interview is now finished.